What's up, everyone? The playoffs are in full swing, and today we are talking about the 5 most disappointing players so far in the NBA playoffs. Before we get into that, let's recap where all the series are at. There's 3 games going on today. We got the Pistons in Orlando trying to tie this series up. Crucial game for the Pistons. It's 2-1 Orlando right now. We'll see if they can get the job done today. OKC in Phoenix, they're looking for the sweep. Looks like they will get the sweep, quite frankly. Good season for Phoenix. It was a nice story. They've made the playoffs, so huge improvement from last year and that debacle that was. And yeah, I mean, the Thunder are the Thunder, right? So I expect that to be wrapped up tonight. So that's the second game. And the third game, the Wolves at the Nuggets. I mean, this is do or die for Denver. Game 5, they got to bring it. They got to win. Quite frankly, I do expect that, especially with the way the last game ended. Obviously, Jokic getting frustrated with McDaniels and all that. And, the Nuggets have been, honestly, getting embarrassed. And McDaniels called them out. They said none of their guys defend. And they should have woken up, several games ago, because he made that comment after game 2. And now it's game 5, do or die. So I do kind of expect the Nuggets today. If they have any pride, it'll show up today, especially on the defensive end. But, quite frankly, it's not just one guy. Those guys have just not defended well all season. We thought maybe they could flip the switch in the playoffs. It hasn't happened. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be today. Do I think it's sustainable? Not really, because I think bad habits carry on throughout. So even if they miraculously come back from a 3-1 deficit and win the series, and I say miraculously lightly because Ant Edwards is out for the Wolves. DiVincenzo's now out for the Wolves. They're really banged up. So I think if the Nuggets came back and won this series in 7, it'd be hard to say that we're surprised just because of how, banged up the Wolves are. And it's just unfortunate because they're a good team and they're showing it. That's a team that has flipped the switch in the playoffs, and they're showing pride. They're playing hard. They're doing everything they can to, win and get ahead. But sometimes you can't overcome injuries. And so we'll see how this series plays out. But tonight, as far as game 5 goes, I think the Nuggets will really lock in and kind of try to send a message because they're getting clowned. So we'll see how that goes tonight. Philly at Boston, that series, Boston, took a commanding 3-1 lead. Embiid came back. He looked all right, actually. But, Philly's just on the ropes. They're a team that's just never really had it this year. And now you throw Embiid into the series and you think, all right, let's see what can happen. And it just didn't happen. They got blown out in game 4. Game 5 is in Boston. Like I said at the start of the series, I think the Celtics, hopefully for them, have learned not to play around with their food. And if they can close out a series early, get it done. In the past, they kind of start off series lackadaisical. It happened against Cleveland a couple years ago. It happened against Miami a few years ago when they went down 3-0 and almost miraculously came back and won in 7. But they are known to not get off to good starts in series. But as far as closing out series, Boston's not too bad at that. So I think, that will probably be a wrap in game 5. Atlanta, New York, this series 2-2. All the pressure was in New York on the Knicks for game 4, and they got the job done. They looked like the professional team that people should come to expect. Evened it out. Game 5 is in the Garden, and we'll see if, now things get for real, right? It's game 5. You don't want to be down to your last games if you lose this. So I think the Knicks will show up. We'll see how it goes. It's in the Garden, like I mentioned. And then Portland at San Antonio, similar to OKC and Phoenix. It's been a great story. Portland has taken a step forward. They are doing it right with young talent and guys that are, cornerstones and building with that. And, again, with a coach that had come in under a unique circumstance with the way that everything played out with Billups in the start of the year, I think that Portland's had a great year, but I do think the Spurs are clearly the better team and the team that should know to close it out in 5, and we'll see if they do that. And the only other series, 2 series that we haven't talked about yet is Toronto at Cleveland. Disappointing on Cleveland's end. I thought game 4 they would come in and kind of close the door on Toronto and say, all right, nice story. You got your win in game 3, but this is where we step up and we're professionals, and we're veterans, just like the Knicks did in game 4. But the Cavs didn't do it. And so now that series is tied, and now there's a lot of pressure on Cleveland in game 5. So they did this to themselves. It was an ugly game, and Cleveland, quite frankly, had many opportunities to take control. We'll see what happens in game 5, but the pressure is on Cleveland for sure. I do expect them to figure some things out. And, Toronto's just not a great offensive team, and you saw that. It's not even – they had wide open looks for 3, a lot of wide open looks for 3, and they're just not that talented on the offensive end. So I think Cleveland, should take care of business. And like I said, Houston at LA, I thought I was convinced it was going to be a sweep once LA went up 3-0. But, credit the Rockets. They put in some effort and they got it done. Reed Shepherd didn't look like a 12-year-old out there, and they got the Game 4 win, and now it goes back to LA. And I think LA's still in the driver's seat because they know that they have cards to play in this series. They've given themselves a 3-1 series lead without Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. Now, sense of urgency here because you want to close it out as early as possible so LeBron, who's not injured, but he is older, 41 years old, can get some rest before the next series. So I think LeBron will come bring it in Game 5 to try to close this out, lights out. And again, if LeBron gives it 100% and has an incredible game and somehow the Rockets still win, I'm not too worried because, the Lakers have other guys that can still other cards to play. Austin Reeves could come back. Luka, let's rule him out, I guess. But you have Austin Reeves, okay? And Austin Reeves is a great player. So, again, I'm not too worried about the series as a whole, but we'll see. This Game 5 should be interesting. I think all the pressure is still on Houston because, like I said, LA's got 3 games to get 1. And, so that's where we're at on these series. We'll see where things go today. But today we're talking about the 5 most disappointing individual players so far in the playoffs, and we'll start at number 5. My 5th most disappointing is Jarrett Allen, center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I maybe recency bias from the last game. He did not have a good game, 10 points, 7 rebounds. But it's just, he didn't shoot bad, 5 for 7, but everyone is putting the blame and the pressure on James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Rightfully so, because those are your stars. Those are the guards. But at the same time, like, these guys, the bigs, got to show up, right? And I could have put this on Evan Mobley or I could have put it on Jarrett Allen, but Evan Mobley's has spurts where he's delivered. And Jarrett Allen, defensively at least, if you expect him to come through there, it hasn't been a fear. The rookie Colin Murray-Boyles hasn't feared Jarrett Allen, has gone in there and put buckets in, right, on him. And he's averaging almost 9 points a game, 7.3 rebounds a game, 2 blocks in 4 games so far in this series. And I just don't think he's been assertive. He has just not made his presence felt. And if he's supposed to be your, I don't know, what, 3rd or 4th, I guess 4th best player on the team, you expect a little more than that, especially if the first 2 are struggling, right? Jarrett Allen to make an impact. The last, I think it was the last game. Yeah, the last game, he only had 3 points. Now, he had 15 rebounds. It was Game 1 I was reading off earlier where he had 10 and 7. Last game, he had 3 points. 15 rebounds is great. I want to see that. That you're the anchor getting the rebounds, but you took 5 shots, 1 for 5 shooting, and 3 points. That's not going to cut it. You're the starting center. We need more, right? We need more. So for Jarrett Allen, again, expectations weren't crazy for him, but I would have liked to see him average a double-double in this series, right? 10 and 10, because Toronto, quite frankly, is undersized. They have effort. That's what they have. And so the rebounds should always be there. You can't have Game 1, 7 rebounds. Game 2, 3 rebounds. Game 3, 4 rebounds. That's not good enough, right? You got to be a dog in there and push off the rookie. And if Scotty Barnes is crashing the glass, like, you're the center, and Jakob Poeltl shouldn't be, making an impact like that on the glass. So, again, Jarrett Allen, number 5. All right, number 4, Jalen Duren. And I'm being light on him and easy on him because, quite frankly, I should have pushed him up higher to most disappointing. But given that they've only played 3 games in that series, Game 4 is later today. I put him number 4 in the most disappointing because he's averaging 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists in the 3 games so far. And he's an all-star. Remember that. He was an all-star this year. And also, if you're the Pistons, he's your second best player. This is a guy you're considering or were considering and probably still considering giving a max contract to at the end of the year when he's an extension eligible. And last game, he put up 8 points, 9 rebounds. That's his best game was Game 2, 11 points and 9 rebounds and 4 assists. He hasn't hit double-digit rebounds at all in this series. That's not acceptable, right? If you're going to be a all-star, if you're going to want max money, you got to show up, right? And so Game 4 today, like I said, the pressure is on Detroit. Can they even out the series? Because if they can't and their backs get to the rope to an 8 seed in Orlando, which again, maybe they're not really an 8 seed, right? They've been injured all year, so I get that. But you gotta step up, right? If you're an all-star and you want that max money, you got to deliver. So that's number 4 on my list. Number 3, and people might say I'm being easy on him, but Nikola Jokic, okay? You're a league MVP, right? Multiple time. You're in the running MVP finalist for this year. And your team is down 3-1 in a series where Ant Edwards has been hobbled the whole series, the Wolves' best player. last game, he didn't even really play. He got hurt early. DiVincenzo missed the whole game pretty much. And in a must-win scenario for you, pretty much, you got to win that game to even it out, to get back home at 2-2, and you didn't get it done. Now, the reason I'm quote-unquote easy on him is because later in history, when we look back at these numbers, he is being guarded by a Hall of Famer in Rudy Gobert. So as much as we want to, diss Jokic for not stepping up, you got to give credit to Rudy Gobert, right? I mean, if we're also giving credit to Gobert, and we know he's a future Hall of Famer, the guy has won Defensive Player of the Year award. So it's a tough matchup, right? And Jokic is still putting up 25 points, 14 and a half rebounds a game, and damn near 8 assists a game in the 4 games so far. So I get it, because he's the face. He's the head of the snake. The Nuggets run through Jokic. It's on him. But, like, the other guys got to step up. That's why you're supposed to have teammates. So if you're taking up the best defender, a Defensive Player of the Year, and he's clogging the paint, and you're essentially getting, controlled, well, that's where your teammate's supposed to step up. They're supposed to hit the open shots. They're supposed to be able to do something with that. Aaron Gordon's hobbled, but like I said, you can't use injuries as an excuse for the Nuggets when you're playing the Wolves, because the Wolves are way more banged up with, I would argue, more important players like Anthony Edwards. That's their best player. So when it comes to that, again, Jokic is very disappointing, but quite frankly, for me, it's not the numbers. It's just disappointing that I'm not even disappointed as much with his play. Honestly, I'm just more disappointed with the way he handled like a sore loser the end of game 4, and ran down the court to go confront Jaden McDaniels. Like, man, get back on defense like that, right? Because on defense, I've been seeing way too many plays when you're either not trying to pick up a foul or you're not really contesting a layup, and you're the center. So again, to me, I value defense, and Jokic right now hasn't even really shown much of the defense. So offensively, these numbers, honestly, they look great. 25, 14 and a half, and 8 assists a game is pretty good, but you got to play defense. And that's why I said, I think tonight in game 5, the Nuggets do play defense, but that's a habit of bad defense that they've developed all year long. And I don't know how, even if tonight they hold the Wolves to 80 points, which I could see happening, because again, you could see Jokic's pride has been hurt. They've been clowning him. And if they even allow the Wolves to only score 80 points tonight, and let's say they win 105 to 80 is the final score, well, I still don't trust the Nuggets defense going into game 6, right? And I think it's more of a product of the Wolves being banged up. And maybe finally the Nuggets showing some effort. Is that sustainable? We'll see. All right, number 2 on the list is Brandon Ingram, Toronto Raptors. Dude is averaging 15 points a game, pretty much, 14.8, 3.8 rebounds a game, 2.3 assists. He's had an embarrassingly bad series. It's not even the numbers. It's the lack of defense that I've seen from him. Game 4, at least he showed some pride and looked like he was moving quicker on defense, and actually trying on defense. But these numbers are unacceptable. Game 1, he shoots 55%, and you're like, all right, that's pretty good. Yeah, because he only took 9 shots. And he's supposed to be your leading scorer, your top dog on offense. That's not acceptable. Game 2, 3 for 15 shooting, terrible. Game 3, again, he only shot 9 shots. And he shot well, 55%. But 9 shots, no. And then game 4, he put up 23 shots, which is about the number of shots he should be taking, but he only made 6 of them. He shot 26% from the field. So Brandon Ingram, he's played 4 games already. I don't know if he's going to figure this out. I don't know if he's in his own head. Game 4, he missed a point-blank layup. So I think he's in his head, but very disappointing. You're supposed to be the guy, right? This is why Toronto paid you. This is why they brought you in. You're supposed to be the leading scorer, and this is the stat lines you're putting up. So he's got to wake up. And Toronto needs him if they want to have a chance to win this series. Yes, it's a nice story. They're tied now 2-2 with Cleveland. That's awesome. But if this is a Brandon Ingram you're continuing to get, well, guess what? You're putting so much pressure on the rookie, which essentially has delivered so far in Colin Murray-Boyles, to kind of be your second leading scorer or put up scoring numbers. That's not even his game, right? That's like when there was Steph and Clay and Draymond, which, again, Barnes and these guys are not comparable to that. But I'm just saying, if Clay wasn't scoring, that's his job to score, right? And if he's not scoring, now you're putting the emphasis on Draymond to score, who his job is to play defense, hit open shots, but you're not expecting scoring from him. And the Raptors almost now have to expect scoring from Colin Murray-Boyles if they want a chance to win the game, because Brandon Ingram ain't doing it. That's his job. right? The rebounds, 3.8 rebounds a game, I think is laughable for a guy his size. But fine, that's not your job. You're not the rebounder on the team. Okay, but if you're the scoring guy on the team, well, this ain't cutting it. So get it together, man. And number one most disappointing has to be Mikal Bridges, right? New York Knicks. I mean, this guy's averaging 7.3 points, 1.5 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists per game. And if we look at his contract that he got, he agreed to a 4-year, $150 million contract extension with the Knicks. Okay? Starting next season. This contract hasn't even started yet. So this is a guy that's going to make damn near $40 million a year next year already. Like it's not like you're negotiating this. That is the contract. And he's putting up 7 points a game. And he's not like your top dog defender either. Josh Hart, I'd rather have defending than Mikal Bridges, right? So I don't know what to make with him. He had a zero burger in game 3. 0 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists from a damn near $40 million player next year. And if you want to say, well, let's see next year when he's getting paid that, maybe then he'll become a superstar. Sure. Well, right now, currently, you gave up 4 first-round picks for him. So if you give up 4 first-round picks for a guy that has 0 points in the game, I mean, his minutes are decreasing. Game 3, he played 21 minutes. And then game 4, he played 19. And yes, the Knicks were cruising to a win, but it's a playoff game. 19. He's losing minutes because, Deuce McBride's coming in there and giving you better numbers. He's playing better. So I don't know what to make with Mikal Bridges. I think it was an overpay at the time they gave him that contract, regardless of what numbers he's putting up. But this is embarrassing, right? Again, Ayo Dosunmu puts up 43 for Minnesota, and he's not going to sniff this kind of contract. And yes, Mikal Bridges had more of a proven history of being a good player in the league than Ayo Dosunmu does. But damn, this is terrible contract. So again, Mikal Bridges, you're not living up to it. Honestly, if you double these numbers, if he goes from 7.3 points a game to 15 points a game, and from 1.5 rebounds to 3 rebounds a game, you'd still be expecting more from him, right? So disappointing for him, disappointing for the Knicks. Lucky for them, they're 2-2 in the series and in the driver's seat having home court. But yeah, Mikal Bridges, you're number one and the most disappointing players so far in the 2026 NBA playoffs. I hope you guys agree with the list. If you don't, let me know in the comments below and I'll respond for sure. So I look forward to talking to you guys on the next one. Appreciate y'all.